Today, I think I'm bringing the foundation series to a close, and I'm going to speak on a personal guide to being fruitful. Personal guide to a fruitful life. Do you want to achieve results in your life? Do you want to do well? Then I'm going to give you a personal guide. You must be fruitful spiritually. You must win souls. You must make sure that the harvest is out there. You go in and you bring in the harvest. You must be fruitful financially, so the Lord can use you to establish his covenant in this earth. Financing the gospel to the uttermost parts of the earth requires money. And it can also be a blessing to help other people on their journey of life. You must be fruitful in your social endeavors. Be light to the world. Impact and influence lives positively with the gospel and create an environment of life, whether in the schools or politics. You are the reason why there's a change that raises godly children. Our children should not go to school and listen to things that are not good or things we don't believe in. We must be able to also have schools, serve on PTAs, boards, and make sure that the things that are done in every sphere of our lives are in accordance with Scripture. Amen. So we have looked at the process the seed goes through to bear fruit. We've spoken about your ability to discover the stage of your life in the process that we go through. How do we now practically apply these things into our lives? We've spoken about seeds. We've spoken about sowing, planting, pruning, watering, fertilizing, all those things. Now today, I provide a guide to make you fruitful. According to John 12:24, it will take a godly process of sowing and dying to be able to bring forth new life. You must invest in your life and nurture over a period of time to be able to guarantee fruit from a particular seed. It means that fruit doesn't come overnight. You must be patient with yourself, no matter how much you're in a hurry, to allow God to work in your life and bring you a guaranteed result in his time. Seed sowing is a very slow but very deliberate, conscious, and intentional growth process of bearing fruit. And as small or insignificant as a seed or idea is, it holds tremendous power within itself to bring great things into existence and create a desirable future. Now we are going to look at a comprehensive guide to achieving success. The undergirding truth is simply this: you must understand the process. Understand the process of the seed to the fruit. And we've taken time over the past month to elaborate it, all the Bible studies to make you understand the process. Then secondly, your willingness and commitment to the process. Apart from just understanding, you are only blessed when you do. So don't just come and learn and quote. The devil can also quote. But when you do, you will see the results. So it is important to commit yourself to this process of planting and watering and fertilizing and pruning and all those things so that you can eventually become a tree. So I start my message today from 1 Corinthians chapter 9, from verse 19. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse number 19. And I want all of us to read it together. 1, 2, go. For though I be free from all men, yet have I made myself servant unto all, that I might gain them all. There are three statements I want you to notice in this. Number one, I am free. Say it with me, I am free. The second statement is, I have made myself. And the third statement is, that I might win them all. Listen carefully. I am free. Number two, I have made myself. Number three, that I might gain them all. This is Paul's mindset. I am free from all sorts of restrictions. I'm free from bondage. Nobody has to force me. I am free. And every one of us, as we grow up, one of the things you realize that you are free. You are free to come to church. You are free not to come to church. You are free to go to school. You are free to learn. You are free not to learn. You are free to choose any decision you make. You are free. But when you use your freedom in a bad way, you cannot blame God. You are free to come to church and sleep. You are free to come to church and learn. You are free to give. You are free not to give. You are free. Paul is saying that though I be free from all men, I am an adult. I am unrestrained. I am unrestricted. I am not bound by any obligation to other people to behave in a certain way. I can choose when to wake up. I can choose when to sleep. I am free. I can choose to come to church and be serious, and I can choose not to be serious. So one of the first things you need to understand in life is that you are free. Even God doesn't interfere with your will. If God speaks his word and you decide, I won't do it, you are free. But you find out that as a free man, you have to ask yourself, how do you live your lives? And what do you use your freedom for? Do you use it to sleep? Do you use it to idle? Do you use it to watch TV? Do you use it to gossip? Do you use it to learn? What do you use your time for? Now you have to make decisions without anybody marking you. And it's going to require self-discipline. It's going to require self-denial. It's going to require self-motivation and personal commitment. You are free to decide that what I've learned in church over the past few weeks, I'll just put it down. You are very free. I think you should look at somebody and tell the person, you are free. So what I'm sharing with you today, there is a part of your life you need to understand God gives to you, and there's a part that you must do. Hello? So if you decide not to be a doer, you are free, but you cannot change the consequences. So Paul in this statement says, for though I am free from all men, then he says, yet have I made myself. So who I am, I'm free, is what life gave to me naturally. I didn't choose my background. I didn't choose my gender. I didn't choose my parents. It was given to me. But what I have become, which he says, I have made myself, is what his own effort has given him. So you can come from a very negative background. Life gave it to you. You didn't choose your parents. You didn't choose your gender. You didn't choose a lot of things. But there is also something in the midst of it that God says, I have made myself. I have made myself. My community didn't make me. My religion didn't make me. My tribe didn't make me. Yet I have made myself. It is a result of your personal effort. Is somebody hearing me? So I am free. Yet I have made myself. And he says, I've made myself a servant. So it's very interesting. In one sense, he's saying, I'm free. Yet he says, I've made myself a servant. I have put myself under a regime of discipline. I've put myself under a regime of order. I have decided I will make myself a servant to learning. I am free. But I've made myself a servant. And I'm going to put myself under some form of bondage, even though I have the freedom not to. And he says, I have made myself. He did not say the people have made me, the Romans have made me, my parents have made me. I have made myself a servant. I am free to join a choir. I am free not to come to church. I am free just to be in church and not read the Bible. Yet I have made myself a servant. This is the mindset of Paul. He says, I will live like a servant. Whereas other people try to make themselves lords and kings, Paul says, no, I choose to be a servant. Now, listen carefully. Depending on your background, I don't know how many of you have been to the sea before. And you find out that usually when you are in the sea, you have to swim against the tide. Maybe the winds are blowing the waves this way and you are coming this way. If you don't do anything, the waves will carry you to a place you don't want. That is what we call being yoked. You come from a family of poverty. You inherited it. If you don't make yourself, the poverty will yoke you and it will carry you back into poverty. You come from a family of illiteracy. You see, if you want to be able to break out, you must swim against the tide. Otherwise, the tide will carry you back into illiteracy. So even though you don't want to be an illiterate, The environment you come from, you are swimming back into it. So in life, many of us have to swim against the tide. And if you are swimming against the tide or you are rowing against the tide, believe me, it requires a lot more energy and effort and concentration. So the things you don't like, this is what Paul is saying. I am free. I was born free. But I have made myself because I have fought against the tide. I've become a serious person because if I allow myself what I don't like, I will end up becoming. Is somebody hearing me? And many people think that, oh, if I just pray and I just ask God, He'll do it for me. But I'll tell you, there are things God expects you to do. So I find many people who somehow seem to be victims. What you don't like, you will become, or you are becoming, because you haven't learned how to make yourself. Hello? You are free to sleep, but you can decide that, Charlie, in my house, the way they sleep, if I also sleep like that, I will end up like them. In my house, they don't learn. If I also don't go to school, I will become like them. So with what I know, I am going to swim against the tide. And I'm going to make myself because they won't make me. And that is why we usually say that life is war. Life is a fight. Because if you don't fight the good fight of faith, you will lose the war of life. I must choose whose slave I become. Everybody is a slave to something. What kind of slave you want to be? Are you going to be a slave to the things that destroy you? Some people are a slave to food. Once you see food, you must eat. Some people are a slave to TV. Once you see TV, you must watch. Some people are a slave to... So because of that, what you want to become, because you are a slave to a bad thing. You want to pass your exams, but every time you are a slave to TV. You want to pass your exams, but every time you are a slave to social media. So even though you are going to school, you are a slave to something that is overriding what you want to become, and it is taking you in a direction you don't like. So you can choose. I'm going to be a slave to TV. And sometimes, as I grow up, one of the things I realize is when you're advising people, they argue because they don't see anything wrong with what it is. For example, what is wrong with TV? There's nothing wrong with TV. What is wrong with sleep? What is wrong with eating? But you see, if you have to fast, then you don't have to be a slave to food. If you have to be a prayer warrior and you have to pray and your life depends on it, then you don't need to be a slave to tiredness and laziness. If you want to have friends, you can't be a slave to shyness and always say, as for me, I'm shy. So sometimes people end up becoming slaves to the wrong things. And they end up in the wrong destination. And you wonder, what have I done with my life? I've been a Christian, I've been going to church. But the question is, whose slave are you? Paul says, I am free from all men, yet I have made myself a servant to all of them again. You are a great preacher, but you learn as if you are still a Bible student, entering Bible school. So there are many people, you take your Bible, you just quote a verse and then you chew gum and then Charlie, you know too much. You no longer apply yourself to Bible study. You no longer apply yourself to discipline of Bible study. You've been a Christian for a while. You now don't even pray. When you come and they are praying after 5 minutes, it's like, Charlie, I pray. But you don't really spend time in prayer. You're not a servant to good things. You're not a servant to apply yourself to cell meetings. Paul is saying, I'm like a top executive secretary. Top executive. I obey all the rules. And I set the example now of hard work, like a laborer who has just been employed. I am free as a boss. Nobody tells me what to do, but I subject myself to discipline. and I work hard. You know, one of the paradigms that creates prosperity is that nobody marks you. Nobody tells you. At a certain place in your point in your life, you find out that nobody tells you what to do. You become the managing director of a company. Who's going to tell you come to work? If you don't go, the workers will assume that, oh, you have a meeting. You've been a Christian for 10 years. Nobody will even tell you, have you prayed? Nobody will ask you, have you studied your Bible? You have to learn how to make yourself. So you find out that if you don't go for rehearsal, at a certain point, if you don't come for meetings, if you don't attend Bible study, it's a very dangerous place to be. Do you want to achieve results? Then you have to learn this mindset. Like a president who is working as if he's now campaigning for presidency. Haven't you noticed that many of our presidents, once they become president, they stop listening to the public? But when they are campaigning, the way they work. You see, when you are campaigning for something, is it the same as when you get it? When you are looking for a wife or a husband, you see how fervent you are. When you get it, what do you do with it? You are free, but you must choose to become. You must make yourself. And so you find in Philippians chapter 3, Paul makes a statement that further explains this. He says, "Brethren, I do not count myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth unto those things which are before." The greatest hindrance to your future can be yourself. As an adult without any restrictions, choose your slavery, because nobody's going to mark you. You mark your own paper and your life as an adult. I'm going to be a slave to excellence. I'm going to be a slave to integrity. I'm going to be a slave to honor, to learning. If I don't do that, somebody else will have to come and regulate my life. And prosperity is for adults, not for children. Go to the ant. Look at the ant. No guide, no overseer, no ruler. Yet, self-motivated, chooses to be a slave to its own self. Nobody comes to call me. When I was teaching you last week, one of the things I told you, nobody waters a tree. People water plants, but they never water a tree. So if you want to know whether you're a tree ready to bear fruits, ask yourself what I'm asking you. Does somebody need to water you? Because a tree's roots are deep. It now taps of the nutrients of the earth, rooted and grounded. So if you want to be fruitful, you have to learn how to be rooted and grounded in yourself, self-motivated by yourself, pursuing great things by yourself, aspiring to be great by yourself, carrying your vision and your dream with your passion by yourself. No rich man, no great person, for want of a better word, works under supervision. Somebody heard me? Why is the place so quiet? Yeah. So as long as you have somebody, every time somebody has to speak to. See, God's prosperity plan is not for children. We make it seem as if, oh, just come and pray and God will send you money. God doesn't work like that. His principles cannot be flouted. So success is first an attitude. The ability to self-transform. I was, but I became. You are what you choose. I am making myself. And the end result of it is that I might win or gain the more. Paul has a winning mindset. A winning mindset. I might win. I might gain the more. So Paul at the beginning of the race is thinking, I will win. I must win. I must gain more. I will not be the same. I'll make profit. So think about it. Do you have a winning mindset in life? You come from a background of poverty. You didn't do anything to create it. You inherited it. But you have a winning mindset. I will win this war against poverty. I will make myself and become somebody great. You come from a background where nothing is honored in your life. You have a winning mindset. I have a winning mindset to win the war of life. I will never be broke. You know, when I make that statement, it reminds me of where I've come from. That I should stay focused, that I'm running a race to win. That is not a joke. That I have to run harder and faster to leave a certain past behind. Never again. I must win. Some of you have forgotten what poverty is like. Some of you have forgotten what unemployment is like. So you get a job, you don't run. Some of you have forgotten what it was like when you didn't have enough. When you didn't have savings. When you didn't have friends. So you don't have a winning mindset actually. This na do na die. And that attitude will drive you. That attitude will drive you. Because your past mistakes must fuel the race for the future. Did you hear me? You must do something to make sure that never again. And if you have, forgive me, if you are marrying somebody who doesn't have a fight to win, it will put you back into slavery. For those of the young girls that are struggling in life, choose well. When the person comes, don't look at what he offers you. Look at the future. Can he fight? Can he win the war against poverty? Because you are swimming against the tide. Maybe you were raised by a mother who was a beggar. And the pain of not having a place to lay your head. The pain of being raised on the streets. Have you forgotten? Win the fight. Win it. Don't come to life with a lackadaisical attitude. It will be well. Who told you? Things don't get better with time. Things rather get worse. But a winning mentality. A fight within you. Somebody heard me. So as a church, we are fighting. Choco must never. We must be far removed from Choco. Maybe you don't understand what drives us. Why we drive for excellence. Why we push. I mean, look at the choir. We are pushing them to write songs. We must stop being mediocre. We must not tolerate it. We cannot tolerate it. So if you want to be a singer, to live by it, by the fruit, with the seed God has given to you, how do you tolerate thorns and weeds and scorners to slow you down? You've seen how you struggled to start your business. How do you tolerate people who don't come to work and they are always giving excuses and they are stealing? No. You see, be very focused. Because the fight to win will determine what you do to make yourself. Are you with me? Is it a nice thing to say? I know you don't like it, but it's okay. So some of the greatest achievements in life have come from very disruptive backgrounds. Because where they came from. I always tell you why people like Stoneboy, Shatawale, and all those people they appeal to me a lot. Oh yeah. Because when I look at where they have come from, some of them have told them they will never go back. All the anger, all the frustrations again of the past is being released and channeled into a great future. Can you hear me? So, can you hear me? So there's a fight you must fight within yourself. I want to win this singing competition. I watched Wiyala. I've watched Mercy Chinwu. I've watched some of the people who have won awards. And I look at them, Uyala, when she was on stage, raw, rough, ragged, from the north. This was a chance. And she steps into Vodafone Music Awards or something. You think she's going to dance as if somebody is forcing her and do some boko boko? And I remember when she took the mic and sang that Tina Turner song. What's love got to do with it? And I looked at her from the north to the south. The fight. The fight. You come to church, somebody has to encourage you, and somebody has to pet you, and somebody has to give you money, and somebody has to talk to you nicely. Otherwise, I won't do it. You throw away your seed. You destroy your future. If you have struggled to pay school fees, believe you me, you won't sleep in the class. Master's class. Don't go and fail. Because what you have struggled and borrowed to pay, see the fight. So, unless you fight and have a winning mindset, Paul says, I am free from all men, yet I have chosen to become a servant unto all, that I might gain the more. Me too, I've passed SSS. I've entered the university. We are all graduates. But I've made myself a servant to the laws of the school. I will attend every lecture. I will even put in more. I will do homework and do research so that I will secure a future. Start thinking for yourself. I want to ask you a question this morning. Do you really want to bear fruits? Do you really want to achieve results? Do you really want your business to succeed? Then you've got to understand this message. I've said it so many times in this church. We don't tolerate beggars. We won't and we won't. Because the first statement we'll make to you is, be fruitful. Let me just go through the personal guide. Number 1, cultivate a deep relationship with God. Because if seeds truly come from God and are part of His plan for your future, then go back to the one who gives seeds and pray and ask Him to help you. Colossians chapter 1, verse 9 and 10. For this cause also, since the day we heard it, we do not cease to pray for you and to desire that you might be filled with the knowledge of His will in all wisdom and spiritual understanding. Verse 10, read with me. That you might walk worthy of the Lord unto all pleasing, being fruitful in every good work and increasing in the knowledge of God. Paul says, I pray for the church in Colossae. I pray that God will give them knowledge of His will. I pray that they shall grow up and be fruitful. They will achieve results. They will yield profits. Everything they do will succeed. I pray for strength for them, that they shall not give up or faint, but they will continuously rise up and overcome every hindrance and force. And they will do everything within themselves to succeed. Do you want to succeed? You are not answering. Do you want to succeed? Do you want that job? Do you want that opportunity? In my life, I've had a few opportunities and I've taken them well. I've been given opportunities to stand in certain places. I remember in my earlier years, there was a board meeting at Ghana Food Distribution. And I was a student who was recommended to go and preach at a board meeting. I remember I stepped there. Opportunity. Am I ready? Would I give my best or I'll fumble? I remember I traveled out of the country and I got a preaching appointment in one church. You see, would I give an excuse not to perform? Because if I perform well, it will open other doors. You don't realize that every time you have an opportunity, it is going to either open other doors or close other doors. As I'm preaching now, You think it's only you who's watching me? I'm live on Facebook. I'm live on social media. So I'm coming, my microphone is not working, my dress is some way. No. I walk in late, have an opportunity to get a job, then I walk in late. David was a shepherd boy. The only opportunity he had was to sling a stone at Goliath. One chance. One opportunity will change your life. Number 2, identify, take, and sow your seeds. We've read it in Matthew chapter 13, verse 31. That own your seed, take it, and sow it. Every dream requires positive action. Identify your values, your strengths, and your gifts. Invest in your own passions and interests. There are things that nobody will do for you. Invest in it yourself. Invest in it yourself. If you are a good singer, invest in training, invest in rehearsal. If you're a good, photographer, invest in yourself. Take pictures, go out by yourself. Invest in yourself. If you want to write poems, invest in yourself. Start reading books. So what you do for yourself. So I want to ask you, what have you done for yourself? What are you doing for yourself? I met a young man in the UK who was a security man. And we happened to be flying to Ghana together. From the time he sat in the plane, he picked out his books. And I kept looking at him because some of us were watching TV. He never slept. Some of us will sleep, look at TV, and I said, but he says, the way I'm struggling in the UK to pass this exam. He says, I have to come to Ghana just for one night to see my mom, and I'm leaving the next morning and have an exam in the UK. And I work as a security man. So this is the only time, is when I have times like this. I don't sit, I learn. Maybe you've been employed as a security man as a graduate. Or maybe as an SSS student. What are you doing? Pastor, nothing. Take your books and start learning. Take your books and start learning. You are sitting there on social media sending all sorts of things. No. Stop complaining. Start investing in yourself. Number 3, embrace lifelong learning and development. Embrace lifelong learning. In 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 18, it says, but grow in grace and in the knowledge of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So what you know about Jesus Christ, you can grow in him. What you've learned about cooking, you can grow in it. What you've learned about what you are doing today is not the final. So I want to see your learning process, your learning growth. What new skills have you learned? What new knowledge have you acquired? In what you are doing, what new thing have you learned? Because the world moves on knowledge. Everything that is produced with new knowledge. And every single day, there's a newer version of the product you are using today. Because somebody is applying himself to a lifelong learning. Lifelong learning. I don't know whether I should go into this. But you see, you are a chef. From the way your mother started cutting fish in 1900, it's the same way you cut the fish and fry it. There must be something that you can learn. Isn't it? There must be something you can learn. The same hairstyle. Do you know? That's the same hairstyle you do. You see, learn something. Add something. And I want to challenge the choir. I want to challenge the ushers. I want to challenge you. Don't do things the same way. You get stuck and bored. Improvise. Initiate. Add. The way you sing a song, change the arrangement. The way you introduce a song, change the way you introduce it. The way you appear on stage, add something. Because people want to see new things. And that's why people go for live shows. Because it's very different from what they see. Grow. New knowledge, new skills. Number 4. Nurture meaningful strategic relationships. Wow. If you want to be fruitful, you need to have strategic relationships. Meaningful relationships. Not relationships just around you. Not relationships with people you just chat with. But people who bring into your life and sharpen you. So at every stage of your life, ask the simple question. Who do I need in my life? Who must I bring into my life? For example, if I cook, or if I drum, or if I sing, or if I'm a teacher, you see, you need to ask yourself, who should I bring into my life who will move me to the next stage? So many people who don't do well in life, their friends don't help them. Their friends only chat with them. So all your friends are people you chat with. Charlie, what's up? Charlie, you don't get filler. Charlie, what's happening? Charlie, have you heard this? No. You must have people who give you knowledge and who can pull you to the next level. So if you're a chef, for example, you must have senior chefs. If you're a teacher, you must have lecturers who can teach you how to become like them. If you're a junior doctor, the senior doctors must be your friend. If you're a minister, you see, you must have other minister friends who are senior, who are older, who are wiser. They are called strategic relationships. If all your relationships are people you chat with and you say hi, there are some relationships you may not chat with them, but they teach you. Are you with me? Are you with me? You are a seamstress. Which seamstress teaches you? So you find out that just like a tree, you must have branches and leaves. You must have coaches. You must have mentors. You must have team members whose investment in you brings out the best. Invest in relationships that support and uplift you. And prioritize building strong connections with your family, friends, and colleagues. And attract people who will encourage you and remove people who mock and scorn at you. It's a serious world, though. It's a serious world. Prosperity is a serious business. It's not for jokers. Number 5 is to practice personal grooming. Genesis chapter 27, verse 27. You know, some of you have invested in your seed, or you have invested in yourself. And so one of the things you learn is personal grooming. Your appearance, your smell. It says, and he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his raiment, and blessed him, and said, see, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field which the Lord hath blessed. Can I just interject with this? Prosperity has a smell. Poverty also has a smell. Do you know that? Do you know that? I'm yet to see rich people who don't smell well. So you are good at what you do. But you wake up in the morning, you don't use deodorant. You don't bath. It's called personal grooming. It's called personal grooming. And a lot of people may never say it to you, but they don't want to come around you. Because your personal grooming needs a lot. Isaac loved the smell of Jacob and blessed him. I'm talking about physical aroma or odor. That's one. And then apart from that, that is the least one. Then also a reputational odor. You see, as you grow up and as you do business and as you invest, one of the things you need is reputational equity. Where your brand is honesty. Where your brand is a good smell. When people mention your name and your work, they have a good smell about it. But you are a carpenter. They know that mene can't let it be now. You are a good carpenter, but you don't have a good reputation. It's not a good smell. You are dishonest as a mechanic. When you are giving money, you don't buy the right things. And there are many people who have a bad smell of dishonesty, of unfaithfulness, of late deliveries, of not doing a good job. Personal grooming. Groom yourself into a brand that delivers. So every time an Messi is in the team, you know that, Charlie, there'll be some fireworks. Every time a Michael Jonas steps in, you know that, Charlie, he's going to perform. It's the same way. Every time they mention you, that you are the carpenter, you are the electrician, you are the preacher, you are the pastor, you are the cell leader, you are the prayer warrior, no ambiguity about your performance and your delivery. As a seamstress, no, there's nothing negative. You have a good smell. Instrumentalist, good smell. Every time you sit behind it, you know that, Charlie, there's going to be a flow. It takes hard work. Every time as I stand as a preacher, I've got to ask myself, I need to project myself. You can't live life to chance. Number 6, fight to win. You were created for dominion. There are a lot of things you will love to do, but be temperate. And you find that in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 24. Don't you know that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize? So run that you may win. Run. See, stay focused and know that, Charlie, I'm running a race and I must win it. I'm a seamstress. I'm running a race. I must win it. I've been employed. I've been given a job. Don't worry about the people who are already there. Run your race. Because sometimes you are employed in a company and other people who are there before you can slow you down. I run to win. I can give you the example of Daniel. He's sold as a slave into a foreign land. He goes into the palace of the king. There are a lot of people there before him. They could have messed him up and slowed him down. But he ran to win. Run that you may win. Run that you may win. Because some of you are running the race as if there's no time. Some of you are walking as if you have determined. A race, there's a qualifying time. And you are not competing against yourself. You are competing against China. You are competing against Turkey. You are not the little carpenter. There are carpenters in Turkey and China who are also producing doors. Cheaper than what you are producing. And number 7, choose positive role models and examples. Hebrews chapter 6, verse 11. And we desire that every one of you will show the same diligence to the full assurance of hope unto the end, that you will not be lazy, but follow those who through faith and patience inherit the promises. The examples you see and the examples around you usually affect the quality of decisions you make. If they aren't good examples, change them. If you live in an environment where everybody is mediocre, please look for excellent examples. Follow those who through faith, don't just follow anybody. Follow those who through faith and patience. If you sell banku, don't look at your environment and say, this is how it's done. Look for an excellent example and follow that person. Don't follow convenience. Because too many people compete among themselves. And after all, even in this area, I'm the best, I'm the first. But the first may not qualify for medical school. So stop comparing yourself to people who are local. You may see somebody who thinks is good and you try to advise the person. That's one of the most difficult things. Because the person has compared himself to other people. Says, I'm the best in my church. So you freeze your development. But international standards are not set by your local church. Somebody hear me? If you run the children's ministry, don't compare yourself to other children's ministry around. Compare yourself to godly standards. Set examples that allow you. Bible says, follow those who through faith and patience. Don't choose role models that are lazy. Don't choose role models that are just like you. Lift up your eyes. Look at China. Look at Israel. Look at Brazil. Look at Netherlands. Look at Turkey. Find out the best and say, this is the person I aim at. I have had to learn to choose my examples very, very, very carefully. Give you me. That's what drives me. I'm not comparing myself to Hymn Square. Don't compare yourself to. Choose the best singing group in the world and measure yourself against them and tell yourself, we will beat you. If you're a Mason, don't compare yourself to other Ghanaian or Nigerian Masons. Charlie, look for the best. You Google. Look for the best Mason in the world. And let that be your benchmark. If you are an athlete, don't say, in my school, then you say, I win them or I win them. Look at it, I win them. Look for the best athlete in the world. Say, I'm going to beat that time. So you may be first, but you don't rest. Because you are making yourself. You are improving yourself. Too many people win first amongst very mediocre groups. And they can't grow again. Believe that you can make your life meaningful. Don't choose bad role models. An overnight slave queen who has become rich. You see, it says through faith and patience. It means that there must be faith and you must be patient. Don't look for overnight things. I've been preaching. This church is 28 years old. You've just started a church. 1 year. You have targets to do everything. You're patient. If you're not careful, you start prophesying to people you shouldn't prophesy to. You start going to people and asking them for things you shouldn't be asking them for. You start forcing people to fall down when they shouldn't be falling down. It's God who gives increase. As you plant, as you water, God will give you the increase. And you shall be like a tree planted by rivers of living water, whose leaves shall never wither, who will bear fruit in his season. It means that God knows the season when a mango bears fruit. God also knows the season when a coconut bears fruit. But we work hard. A coconut tree doesn't want to become like a mango tree. A guava tree doesn't want to become like a pawpaw tree. You see, the examples you choose, very important. Finally, celebrate yourselves as you go on the journey. So every year we celebrate anniversary. We haven't arrived, but at least, we've done something small. At least last year we didn't used to do Bible study, but now we do Bible study. At least now our people are learning the Bible small. You see, it's a small achievement, but we celebrate it. Because when you don't learn to reward yourself, you'll be discouraged. Nobody will reward you. So every time, every week, what have I done? Okay, I'm going to buy a bottle of mineral to celebrate. I finished school. Okay, I'm going to finish class 1. I haven't finished, but at least class 1, I'm trying. I started a business. It didn't turn out the way it was, but at least I started. You want to do well in life? These 7 things. Must learn them. What is number 1 as we close? What is number 1? Build a deep relationship with God. Have you forgotten? Okay. What is number 2? Identify, take, and sow your seeds. What is number 3? Embrace lifelong learning and development. Number 4, nurture meaningful strategic relationships. Number 5, practice personal grooming. Number 6, fight to win. Number 7, positive examples and role models. And the last one, which I don't want to give, is that celebrate yourselves regularly. Be grateful. Give thanks to God. This is the day the Lord has made. Every Sunday we come to church. We thank God. We give thanks to God for the week. We honor God for the month. We do little things that show us that we are making daily progress. It's progressive. We haven't arrived, but we are not where we used to be. Every one of you, you must learn to mark yourself and push yourself forward. Because most people push you back. Don't push you forward. If you want somebody to pat yourself on your back, that's why they say pat yourself on your back. It's an euphemistic statement, but it means it's small. But just pat yourself on the back and move small. This is why we are here as a church. I pray that what you have learned from when we started talking about after Easter, what the plan of resurrection is, how the resurrection aligns you to Genesis chapter 1, God's command to be fruitful, what it means to be fruitful, how God out of a fruit gives you seeds, what you do to the seeds, you identify them, how you sow them, how you let it die, the process you go through to become a tree. Finally, what I've shared with you today. Personal guide. Shall we rise up and